Okay.
All right, good.
Call the meeting to order. Do a roll call. Bonasini,
Here.
Arbucco,
Here.
Michael Colton,
Here.
Doxer,
Here.
Parson, here, Sasso. Present. John. Present. Okay. First item, I'll do a motion to approve the minutes of the June 5th meeting. So moved. Okay. Second, any additions, corrections, comments? Seeing none. Vote. Okay. Bonasini,
Yes.
Arbucco,
Yes.
Copeland,
Yes.
Mark Doxer.
Yes.
John Passing.
Yes.
Sasso.
Yes.
Okay. PPC, next steps, I guess that's what we're just learning before.
Yeah, so, so the project has been approved to be managed by the permanent building committee. So that was a hurdle that had to be overcome, that's been overcome. The select board nominated 2 members to join, Nancy Zemlak, myself. And I don't know that they met, but I'm assuming that they did because we're gonna be getting together in a meeting next Monday. So I believe that's
Well, I tried to sign a
the oath.
oath today.
Yeah.
And she didn't have it.
Okay, so we need to make sure that that's taken place.
I can call to,
And I can just ask Carl.
okay.
Okay, so let's do that. So the way the permanent building committee works is that there's a permanent group of permanent building committee members. And then on a project basis, there are temporary members who are added, temporary voting members. So in the case of the school project, I think there may be 3 or 4 voting members, and that's a function of the school building assistance program and how that works, was required in that committee. In the case of this project, it was brought forward by the select board. I filled out the paperwork to get that done, and the charter provides that there'd be 2 people from the sponsoring agencies. And so the select board then nominated the 2 candidates, member of the Council on Aging, select. So that's where we are. The first meeting is next Monday to have discussions on. We also wanted to get a flavor for where things are with the PBC and how they see things going, and that was a great opportunity that we just had that folks came to the end of. And the essence of it is this. Best practice that the committee suggested through Pat Tompkins, who was here, and also the town engineer, is that you do environmental testing on a site that exists. In other words, there's a plan to move forward, and then as part of the moving forward and building the schematics, you do the testing at that point. Not do the testing, then make a decision. You forward to schematics, and then one of the early activities in schematics is to do the testing.
But if the testing results are such that it looks like it's prohibitive, cost-wise, whatever, can they then go back to it?
So you can do all sorts of things if that happens, but it depends what they find and what it would mean in terms of remediation. It may be that it's very simple. It may be that it's very expensive and long and difficult. But as soon as you open the box, you can't just close it. You gotta do something.
No, right, yes.
But there could be an option at that point of, it may be that you say, hey, you could just cover this with hard surface if you don't have to put a building on. So for example, maybe pickleball would be a great option there. Or maybe you say, hey, there's some here, but there's none here. Maybe you swap the arrangement. So that kind of gets into the hands of the PBC for construction decisions, as opposed to kind of where we are. So in parallel to, let me just finish this if I could. In parallel to kind of the PBC activities, the starting point is selecting a site. And I think Recalc went through a process of looking at different things. I think we kind of made our list of 1, 2, 3, or kind of 1 and 2 close and 3 very far away. COA went through a very similar process and came essentially to the same results. And we've been talking about, do we take that forward to the select board as our recommendation? Or do we wait for permanent building committee? And then the question was, oh, with the permanent building committee, do they want to do environmental testing first? So what we just learned is that they probably don't want to do environmental testing first. They are not ready to make a recommendation themselves. But we asked, what if Recalc were to make a recommendation to the select board with the caveat that there's still going to be more work done by the PBC? Would that be seen as kind of a positive and clear direction in terms of what we want to do? And the answer was yes, that would be great. So I think that we Recalc could decide that that's exactly what we want to do. And we could be on the agenda for next Tuesday. I strongly recommend we don't do that. We move to August. And we make our presentation, which we're going to talk about tonight. We make our recommendation, which we more or less already have done, but whatever other discussion there is. The third piece is that this project requires an owner's project manager. There was a hope that we could use what's called the house doctor, which is the in-house group that does a lot of work for the town already, that we could allow them to be the OPM. Legal came back and said, no, you're going to have to go through a bid process. The bid process was initiated before the end of the year. And I believe we encumbered funds from 2020, fiscal 24 to do it. And the bids are coming in. I think it closes pretty soon. Yeah. 18th, great. And then owner's project manager will be selected. Permanent building committee would like to work with that group for some period of time, probably a month or two. Make sure they're up to speed, go through all of their activities, and they, the PBC, would want the OPM on board, up to speed, and in agreement with them on any recommendations, or I call them condemnations, problems. That probably can be complete for late August to early September, but not sooner. That's their time.
Right. I'm not clear, does that mean we wait on the recommendation to them or no? That they
So we asked the question, they said it would be fine, even good, to make the recommendation to the select board. Ideally get the select board to agree pending kind of final approval and there's something that stops it to bring it back. BH+A would not move on to schematics until the OPM and building committee were okay. And then the project would drive forward from there in terms of schematic design, environmental testing, whatever else is going to be required.
And so nothing would go to town meeting until that was completed.
So I think the reason to go to town meeting next is money. We don't know that. We don't have schematic designs, not
That's what I mean,
everything's
so
finished.
everything, yes.
Right, so you need that to be completed. So if it starts in earnest late August, early September, it's 3-ish months, 2 to 4, 3.
So not
Ish
this,
months.
not this calendar.
Sounds like there needs to be a discussion about that.
Okay, all right.
Robert De Niro says something else.
But I think that, to your point, you gotta figure out when we have the information, and then we need to make sure the community has their questions answered so that it wins first time through. And we should discuss what the right timing for that would be. One of the things that changes is that Recal sunsets the end of August.
Mm-hmm.
The permanent building committee owns the project. There's some representation outside from building people on that. But there probably should be a group of folks that are able to help guide and work with the community, and members of the sponsoring agency, i.e. the town, that help from a non-construction point of view. Construction decisions, wrong phrase, but anything related to the building kinds of stuff, that's the building committee, no question. But in thinking about what we want in the building, exactly, we've made recommendations. As that is coming through schematics, who is kind of consulting on that, right? It's less of a building discussion and more of a community priority discussion. So how does that guide forward? So that, I don't have an answer to that. I think that that's a good topic of discussion. The other thing is that if we move forward in either location that is not the Pleasant Street Center, the select board probably wants to have a discussion about options for the Pleasant Street Center, the building.
Sure.
And it may be that the select board should talk about that and maybe even decide, hey, we should find some folks to come together to work.
That's not part of our charge at all.
It's not part of our charge.
Right.
I do think it's a topic that will and should come up,
Oh, sure.
and so the board needs to decide how to do it.
Shake your head, yeah, you're right.
And who I saw, just remember how this.
Can you introduce yourself, John?
Are these schematics? Are all three
Who are you
buildings?
first?
Pardon me?
Who are you
I'm
first?
John Szynski.
And,
A member of the new member of Council on Aging.
I'm
Oh,
a new member and
okay.
I'm just kind of feeling my way
fine,
through.
sure.
Are the schematics that's similar for all three buildings that you can work on them before you know the site?
For two of them. For two of them, yes, it'll be the exact same building,
Except the,
except for Pearl Street, yes, because that would.
Pleasant Street.
Pleasant Street, that's right, yeah. Pleasant Street.
Yes, correct.
okay.
But they might be impacted by the site still, because we don't have
Yes.
answers on some questions that could, as you were just saying, direct us, well, we can't put a building here, but maybe we have to put it over here, and maybe we need to put a courtyard in the middle to address, I mean, there's all things like that that could potentially come up during the actual schematic design, which is why they really can't do much on that until they get some good answers on that early. Question, couple questions. Were there any pieces of feedback from the permanent building committee that we should take into consideration regarding our recommendation? Anything that they provided? Obviously, they don't have answers for some of the issues that we know, but are there any things that they brought up that we missed that we need to incorporate in our consideration?
Not to date. They do have a meeting next Monday. Everyone on the permanent building committee has been given every bit of information that exists on the sites, as well as our stuff on the draft presentation.
So John, we're just looking for like immediate red flags, right?
They have not identified anything. I literally said to them, do you have any condemnations of sites where you just say no or stop? The answer was no, we don't have anything like that.
Yeah, well, even if it's not get stop on a site, but, oh, by the way, you need to consider X, Y, and Z. We should just make sure we have that in our back pockets.
So they didn't present anything like that.
The last thing you said, I just came in at the end, so I didn't hear this discussion. But the last thing he said is, if, you could have your, all things being equal, where would you, of the three locations, where would you like to have it placed? So I think they're looking to us, they're still at that point, where would we like to have it placed? And then there may be all sorts of issues with that and everything, but that aside, at least initially, that's what they want.
Given what you just shared, other than that caveat I just made, I would agree. I don't see any reason why we as a committee wouldn't be ready to put forward a recommendation. And I think the issue with that we have to ask ourselves is then what do we do after that? I know you talked a little bit about some of the other things, but I would be concerned because maybe it's just because of the way that things have gone at Killam. I mean, Killam Group has taken over that entire project. They've dealt with all of the communications. They've dealt with the listening meetings. They've really been the one in charge of that. And my only concern would be, keeping another group on the side of that to deal with that. Maybe is a distraction and a difference. And so I would expect that group would want to be the ones in charge of that, because I can't see anything that they could get back for feedback that wouldn't in some way, shape, or form have impact on whether it be schematics or layout or something like that. So that would just be my concern or question. But in terms of making a recommendation from Recalc's perspective, I think at this point we're short of any other gushes. I think we have all the information we're going to get, and it doesn't sound like there's any more work going to be done for another couple of months anyhow. They want a site to actually be able to work on.
Right.
So I think the choice is kind of a binary one. Either we give them a recommendation or we don't, and if we don't, it doesn't
Yeah, I
actually
think
help the situation.
That really hurts.
Right,
the
so
process,
I that's just my thought.
me just answer your question.
Sure.
One of the helpful pieces actually will be the owner's project manager in terms of leading how you do some of these
Yes, no,
things.
agreed, and
We don't have that in place yet.
Right,
but we will.
that whole process, you know, will, to your point, you'll have an owner's project manager, you'll have BH&A, you'll have a permanent building committee, you still have sponsoring organization and COA. I just, yeah.
We got the FBI and the CIA and everybody.
Right, any other
You
three,
can do it
three
for
letter,
EQ.
you can do any other three-letter organization.
I have
you
a
want.
technical question. We didn't put on the agenda that we were going to make a recommendation. Is that a barrier to us formally voting?
So didn't we already vote on our recommendation? Previous meetings? I thought we were there. The issue was when we were gonna present to the select board, and then we said, wait a second. How about getting the permanent
To
building?
me, I think we have the presentation and we went through the presentation, probably just another slide to add. This is our recommendation.
Okay, I mean, I just don't want it
Is
to
that
come back.
almost the blank slide that says recommendation?
Yeah, I think so.
We had that slide in there. In fact, that was the slide I asked. I said, where did that slide go?
I mean, even if you wanted to formally vote and just have like a quick Zoom meeting, so it's formal and on the agenda, that might be a good move. It would be a quick
Always
one, I'm
safer.
sure.
It's always safer to do that.
We could do this, you know, how many days do we need, you know, do it?
2 days.
Okay, and, yeah, so for next Monday,
So next Monday, there is a permanent building committee. I'm gonna do it right after that.
30.
right before, I mean,
before.
it's gonna take,
PBC at 6?
Yep.
Yeah,
We'll do 5:30.
by Zoom.
And
So it's better to do it early.
Right.
It's only midnight.
World internet.
So, yeah, actually, we have discussed presentation. Okay.
yeah, that's the.
Yep.
So, so that's as far as we can go tonight on that, and then it's the presentation. I'm gonna, on the presentation, I'd like to recommend that John, if he's willing, make the presentation. Great job last time.
As long as I'm here,
Yes.
So the meeting is
August.
twentieth.
so recount meeting for next Monday to vote on a site selection. Final site
And I'd say final site selection and inclusion and presentation
Right.
to be delivered to the select board August 18th, 20.
Sorry.
August 20th.
August.
Tuesday, August 20th.
Now that one, I guess you would post, because there probably will be enough recount members for the 20th, August 20th.
Okay, so yeah, I'll post that one and
I actually should be here because I have an audit on the 21st.
Okay.
Dentist appointment.
Zoom
Exactly, 8-hour dentist appointment.
15.
So can I ask, are there other questions on, I don't know, where PBC is?
So are they getting any other direction from other people than? Is there any other? It's just you guys and.
Yeah.
That's.
So in terms of voting members, yes, anybody can attend the public meetings.
Right.
Absolutely. And it'd be good to have.
Right, so you weren't suggesting another advisory committee other than.
Well, I think you
No,
will.
no, I just want to make sure.
So
I
until the
surely
OPM,
don't want it.
until the OPM is in place, you know, any pieces, make sure that we're capturing somehow.
Outside of recount, right?
I think so, unless Recalc's gonna do it. And then once the OPM comes on board, I think then,
Sure.
I think the OPM kind of, so the OPM at Killam, it seems to me, really nice job of kind of outlining process and setting up meetings, bringing in different activities, bringing in different things. It's really, they're the expert and then doing the leading outside of the PBC. And so that can be, I think that probably is the answer, a longer term answer going forward. And then there's a question of what's the role of COA, and is there a private group, it's 460 plus or not, that kind of takes on the publicity campaign to the
I would think COA is the natural vehicle. Anyway.
So there are restrictions on political activity that would include some activities. Maybe it's worth finding out kind of what can you do and where do you, and maybe it's enough, but maybe it's not.
Sure.
It's also, I think, depends how we're gonna pitch this Center for Active Living. I mean, we've worked very hard to say this isn't just a senior center, so the communication has to go far beyond the scope of just COA. We're ready, and as Nancy said, we're poised and ready to do our part of this, but there's recalc that I think will have to have a big responsibility and also getting word.
Won't exist.
Not recalc, rec.
Right.
It's a much broader scope than just the elder services campaign. If we're going to pitch this
Oh, I
as a
totally
center
agree.
for active living.
Rec is.
Yeah,
vital.
and so no, it isn't that COA is the natural, we're part of the natural,
Yes.
absolutely, but we're not the natural.
And I think we have to help the OPM understand the pieces
Yes,
and then get the guidance from the OPM on how to work.
yeah, yeah.
Hopefully whoever's chosen has this expertise.
So on the Killam committee, how many people serve?
On the building committee,
Yeah.
I believe there are 4 members, temporary members, plus the permanent. I mean, 5. So it's 1 select board member, 2 school committee members, the town, not the town. Someone from finance, is Henry still serving? I don't know, maybe, so it was the town. It was the treasurer. So it may now be the finance person from schools. Might only be 4.
And do they have a group of volunteer advisors or something like that as well too, that do participate in some of those?
Well, the 4 is in addition to the permanent.
Right, so they're temporary additions to the full PBC membership.
Okay.
Just for that project. Okay, so here we go, so we have, so there's 2 school committee. So the town manager is on it. Principal of Killam is on it. A teacher from Killam is on it. Superintendent of schools is on it.
Sorry.
Someone
Hooked
else.
up to my mouse.
Yeah. And that's it. Oh, and assistant town manager's on it.
Oh, and Ross.
Oh, from finance committee. Okay, so that's how I did finance, was at Ross from finance committee. And that was prescribed by the school building assistants, saying this is what you need on your building.
15 people.
Sounds like,
Yeah, and then obviously town staff aren't voting members, and I'm sure Tom Milichowski isn't as.
He's not a resident, he's not a.
so I would imagine this would require someone from elder services and rec. Mhm.
So no,
No,
there are 2 members, council on aging and select board, the sponsoring agency. And the bylaw, I believe, says 1 to 2 members can be added temporarily as voting members to the BBC. So those.
and the only reason why Killam is large is because of rules of the SBC.
Yes. And therefore, it's outside actually of the.
I just wanted to clarify, so how big the group is.
Thank you. To that point, while we're required to have the 2, since school committee has more, it doesn't preclude the, I'm concerned where I'm coming from, the elder services and rec don't have a direct voice. They're the stakeholders. And I'm concerned there's not a direct voice.
We'll be there as town staff,
Yeah.
definitely, every step of the way, and Jane and Matt. But we could also get Jim involved too, and have him get up to speed with the meetings.
That's kind of what Jane talked about today, that she was going to have
Okay.
an executive committee, much like the work group that happened with
Each will say,
Yeah.
part of the process.
Yeah.
Kind of what I
and
was.
that, which is,
Yeah, an internal,
that
Well, that's what I was,
an internal
asking
group of
besides-
staff.
Informal,
yeah, informal, yeah.
non-voting.
right,
Yeah.
right, and any community, non-community members can participate in the meeting. And yeah, the expectation definitely is Jen is gonna be
Yeah.
very active, Matt and Jane,
Chris.
I'll be there.
and other
Council
members
on
of the
Aging.
community. But you'll be there and others, and the only thing to be careful of is that if you do bring a quorum, post.
The OPM is gonna be responsible for making sure any information they need gets solicited and brought in. That's their job. So, you know, if they decide they need specific information and feedback on a particular set of schematics or some configuration, they can't do that in a vacuum. That's the job of the OPM, is to make sure that that feedback is obtained and incorporated into the design. So, and as Mark says, just because the committee is defined doesn't mean other people outside can't participate. In fact, I think that's something, it's certainly something that we've seen in some of these other building projects, so I would expect that to be the same.
Because you need those people to be champions
Yes.
for the project as well too, right?
Champion and bring it back to your
They're the
neighbors'
stakeholders. And none of all those other people are the stakeholders,
Right,
so
right.
a really strong participation is essential. We look forward to it.
I think one of the things that we talked about a little bit in this last meeting was just maintaining momentum.
Yeah.
And you know, we've slipped a little bit, and the needing an OPM, we didn't understand that, we do now. Anyway, it's in process, the paper is on the street to find a person, to find groups to offer services. That's kind of the next thing, it sounds like a next thing for the PDC. Hey, we're comfortable.
So Mark, you mentioned that, I think it was in the last meeting, I don't know if it was this meeting. If it does come to a town meeting vote, and it's both Killam and the
Recounts.
sound, yeah. They have to be two separate line items.
We believe so. I don't know that we have a council opinion on that yet, but that's, I think, the working assumption.
But is the working assumption that they'd be presented at one occasion, one vote?
So
Not there yet.
my perspective is, yeah, we're not there yet. So it'd be great to go as quickly as we can where we believe that the community is prepared and likely to approve. Right, going earlier than that wouldn't make any sense.
Yeah, it's
Going
gonna be
later than
tough
that might not be the right thing.
to ask people to vote on one, another one's coming.
Yeah, 4 months later.
But the reality is exactly that, right? You as a taxpayer, if this goes all the way through, you as a taxpayer need to see these and understand them, so there aren't any surprises. And whether they're on the exact same time frame or not,
Right.
they're close.
But as a taxpayer and voter, I want to know.
Yeah.
Because
You betcha.
what happens on one may impact my vote on the other, honestly.
So there could be an advantage, and I think the select board needs to talk about this, what makes the most sense, when do they come forward? But first, town meeting, so you need town meeting to approve the overall budget structure. Once that's done, then you need to schedule a special election.
The other piece that's gonna be critical, and was at least started at the last meeting, was the financial stuff is gonna have to continue to be discussed outside of this.
Oh.
Kind of all of the different pieces that are coming together, and how is the community going to structure and fund these things. Because I don't think the answer is purely overrides, or excuse me, debt exclusions, in my opinion. There have to be other ways to look at how this is going, because it isn't just about Killam, it isn't just about that, it's about CPA, it's about all the different things that the people are gonna have put in front of them. And so there needs to be a strategic view and a communication plan to the residents about how all this is gonna work. What are the priorities? And to your point, John, I feel the exact same way. I don't feel comfortable voting on any one particular issue without at least a window into what
The other is.
the whole thing looks like. Now, I will admit, I don't think you'll ever be able to accurately give that picture, you know, at point X, but you're gonna have to be able to explain enough of it so people feel comfortable.
Right.
And that's why that financial forum communication piece has to continue. And we need to look at all of the different pieces and what can be done to mitigate the impact. Because there are things that can be done. But those conversations have not, as far as I can see thus far, haven't been had. And you and I both know as town meeting members, you know, we're gonna be the first ones to get the brunt of that.
Yes.
And one piece of it also, we talked about what are the operating costs that you're going to sustain whatever you put together. BH+A had
As a consultant, right, no,
Right.
I remember. Yep.
Yeah, so it may be that with the OPM, it's like, that's a necessary element now that we have a notion of what we're gonna build. Here's what you need to do. This will tell you, okay, you're gonna need, you know, these are the likely hours, which means this amount of staff, here's the cost, here's the
fact that
maintenance.
this is outside of the normal downtown, we're gonna need to buy 3 more vans and, you know,
Whatever
whatever.
the pieces are.
Right, exactly.
So you get as complete a picture as we can put together.
But there again, it'll be important that it's not just gonna be, if you get vans, it'll be vans for all the uses.
Sure.
Of the facility.
Yeah, no,
Right, so that's
Again,
what
there's, you know, these are not straightforward, this is exactly how it's gonna be, but you have to put enough information in place for people to understand what the impacting cost is gonna be, and to the point of people wanting to know, well, how are we gonna support this in that particular location? That has always been in front of us.
But part of my thing there is we have some information because of the additional monies we've got the federal monies and what programming that is about. So that's really good news, I think, that you have that. And then also that you don't say when it's full, you know, if we have everything that we want and it ongoing, this is what it's gonna cost to start it off, because I don't feel you start off anything that way. You have a multi-year plan because town can't take that blow.
The town is, at least as far as I recall, the town has already started to edge the budget up little by little, and that's the only way you're gonna do it. But it still has to be tied to the reality of the situation.
Yeah.
And if the answer is, okay, we're gonna build this 18,000, 20,000 square foot building, but where you don't have all the staff because we're 2 or 3 years out, then you just have that conversation and explain to people, this is what the plan is, so that they understand it isn't just about. I definitely sound like a broken record. It is not just about building the building, it's
Right.
about what are you gonna do to operate it and fund it and support it, so. Yeah, that has to be part of this, and I don't think any community member is gonna wanna make those decisions without that information.
It may be that this consultant or some other consultant that does the same work, they have the expertise in understanding that on day one, you don't go and say,
Right.
flood the building with people and
Right.
wait for the.
I'm
wait for the
interested
residents to
on
come.
Killam, it obviously is gonna be additional cost. Because we're talking about a bigger building and maybe bringing in, centralizing all the early education things and everything.
I don't know that means more people.
Yeah,
Well, but I mean, there's gonna be some additional cost, I'm assuming there. And how are they,
So I think to your point,
Yeah.
that's an analysis that they are doing, that they have to and they are. The same as.
That's what
it's
I
gonna
get.
affect the school budget, that's gonna affect the school.
right, that's
budget.
my
Yes.
point, yes.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. And look, town meeting will demand the answers, and we, the community, that are in favor of this, need to help the OPM to get to know they'll know most of the things to ask, but we need to help them to make sure that it's like, well, you don't know Reading, Reading's a little different. Here's what you need to do with Reading. That's what we ought to do. And it may be that the OPM says, I need some help. And then that may be kind of a call out to get some folks who want to get more active and help with some of that activity. And some of it, I think, is paid consultants, because frankly, as a town meeting member, I probably want to know that an expert has looked at this and said, this is what we think it will be.
And I'd like to know Wilmington. To this particular point, you know, it's gonna be a lot bigger building than they have now. And so that they must be facing that issue. How did they approach? I have no idea how they approached it, but I'd be interested in what they did there. So that the OPM, I would tell them that's one of the places I would look at.
Or I could suggest some of, that question, the transportation question, if there were members of this group who were interested in kind of working on that in the next month, that would be awesome. And I believe that that's within our charter from the select board. That would be great to at least start that process. And if there are members that want to do that, let's do it. That adds a nice next step. In other words, we're kind of looking to the next step. That'd be great.
Could I suggest that you also look at North Andover? North Andover Center, you go up there, your mouth will drop open, but it's, I believe, approximately 13,000 square feet. One of their documents says 13,500. The director says she doesn't exactly know because of the way they live, but somewhere in that vicinity. And it's strictly senior center. So imagine a gym attached to it for what we want. So it would be bigger. But they used to be in the center of town. Transportation wasn't such an issue. They're now way out on the edge of town, and that was an issue to the town. So you could learn about things like what did it take to face it. And in terms of staff, it was confided to us, they actually realized once they got up and going in the new environment, they were a little staff heavy. And were able, because they were able to rely more on volunteers to conduct programs that used to be paid staff. And now, partially, I think it's such a wonderful environment. People want to come teach a class and whatever. Anyway, I would talk to them. I think we can learn a lot from them.
Who it is that you're saying talk to them, it's kind of like.
Oh, their director
Everybody.
has said she's happy to help with us in any way, shape, or form.
But again, this has got nothing to do with Rico.
Right.
It does. It has to do with the operating costs as you transition.
No, that's
to
not,
the event.
All
All right, but,
Yeah.
well, the conversation we were having about needing to have information about this, they are something that's very similar to what we may be experiencing.
I have,
In Wilmington as well, yeah.
I have to say, in the stuff that you looked at, and again, I haven't, I have to admit, I haven't gone to a lot of centers myself, but in the materials that I've seen, the staffing piece doesn't necessarily seem to be the one driving much of the cost.
Right.
It's really seems to be
Yeah.
some other stuff. The staffing is real, I think the volunteer, I think program coordinators, volunteer coordinators, those are really key for these types of organizations. At least that's what I see from what I've read and what I've heard, what I've seen. And expanding the size of the building, and giving yourself an opportunity to do more programmatic things, to your point, allows you to bring in others and more people to do these different things without expanding the footprint of the permanent staff.
Right.
And I mean, that doesn't mean there's gonna be no additional staff per se, but at least I think it mitigates it a bit.
Right, I can remember she was originally on Recount, but she was a retired social worker that wanted to volunteer, but there was no space for her at the center.
No, I think those sorts of issues actually will be not entirely resolved, but certainly mitigated to a point where it'll be an easier situation in that regard. But we still have to answer all those questions, and I think having the ability to talk to other centers, especially those that have just gone through this, would continue to be a good use of our time.
Okay, so talk about use of our time. Are there anything else?
Do you want to
Based on what's
take a look at the
already-
presentation?
Sure, yeah. I have some questions, actually. I
On
don't know, you wanna walk through them? Can we walk?
Sure.
Make sense
Oh,
just
yeah.
to walk through it?
Yes,
Is that okay?
yes, yeah.
Okay. So we'll make that August 18th.
Oh, it's
20th?
20th.
20th.
The day you're not in the dentist chair.
Yeah, I'm gonna be, I mean, it's 20th and 18th, they're gonna show up, like, where is everybody?
20th. No, 20th.
20th.
20.
Sorry, I heard him say 18th. I'm sorry, I don't think I'll be able to full screen because when I hit full screen, it doesn't let me it doesn't let me edit.
This is
Is that
fine.
okay?
Yeah,
All right.
it's fine.
Okay, thank you.
See, we have site selection recommendation on the
Absolutely.
Right. presentation.
Pretty important.
Right,
We knew we had to have that before the presentation occurred.
It came off of one of the other presentations, that's why, that's the reason I was.
I didn't do it, I didn't do
That was my comment, like, where's the slide?
it.
Yep.
Everybody's name spelled correctly? Yep.
Everybody, everybody's name spelled right?
Do we want to put Mike as the,
Was he rec?
yeah, he's the rec liaison.
And
Okay, so that's, yeah.
Rep.
Pickleball liaison.
You want a number on the percent growing? Is that just a space limit?
Yes, good catch. You want to know.
It says
Yeah.
more than 6%
I'll
growing.
highlight it, so I'll
Okay.
just highlight that section.
There is an estimate for 2030, right?
Yeah, but we're already gonna
Past
reach it next year at the current rate of growth. I can help with that. if
Yeah, you can
want.
probably project out to
I'll help
2030.
with that. My only reaction to this one was, and I feel it in a few places, it's not that it's not there, but it doesn't come out as strongly. When I hear there are wait lists, I'm sort of like, well, looks like you get to the movie and the tickets are sold out, that's too bad. But it's more than just that there's a wait list. What other centers like North Andover are telling us is that they're seeing their participation rates double when they
Sure.
have more. And somehow to communicate that, we're not able to meet the full need. I just, the wait list is correct. I just
Right.
don't think it conveys the enormity of the issue.
What if we also took some of Chris's attendee numbers and the growth that's been taking place?
That's good, and that shows that we've reached capacity, but it still doesn't
It
give
might
us.
be better on the presentation instead of just putting it all.
Many,
So we're talking
many
to-
rooms cannot accommodate the volume of people who want to attend. Is that what you're saying? Like not saying the word wait list?
I'm saying totally roughly off the top of my head, we probably have the capacity once the building's done to address a need felt by twice as many people.
Right,
That's what other places.
So what if we put it in terms of capacity? So
Okay,
today, what is the, I mean, you're getting in terms of
right, that goes to Chris's.
what is the capacity and how do you define capacity? Is
Right.
it number of unique uses? I'm asking the question, I don't even know what the right answer is here, but
Chris has got it
It's the
16
cookout
ways from
today.
somewhere. You ask him, he's got it.
It's a good question. If you're looking at capacity, it's a little fluid.
it's not like just like,
because the
oh,
great rooms
It's just
technically.
it's the great room really, right? Because that's the only room,
Like 100
Yeah.
or
That doesn't
front of
come
the
through
fire.
here.
yeah,
There's only
Yeah.
one.
yeah.
one great room, yeah, one multi-purpose.
Gentlemen, I can talk, how about we talk about this? And then we'll,
Cause I like the idea of capacity.
It's a good idea, I'm just trying to
Just
define
trying to
how
find-
you,
Right, no, I
different
agree.
ways you can define it.
Yeah.
So,
For example, Chris has mentioned that it would be nice to be able to seat 120 for those dinners. We certainly
Sure.
could fill the seats. We can only seat safely about 60, right?
Well,
Right,
there's,
exactly.
But there were only 19 on the wait list, so that's a total of 79.
Yeah, but people don't
And it- but
try and
it's
things they
tight.
know not gonna get.
It's still tight.
Right.
It wasn't that.
once they know there's a wait list, they say, you know what, I'm not gonna worry about it.
Exactly. I mean, they know what.
And when you go to a new building, it's all automatically going to.
Yeah, they're gonna see this big, huge, beautiful place. They're gonna, believe me, we build it, they're going to come.
I mean, there's
Especially
different,
if we're serving lunch.
there's different dimensions to capacity, I guess.
Yes.
yeah,
Is there a fire rule of how many people in the building?
Yeah.
yes. It's-
Maybe that's a capacity.
Each room has like the gray room, you can't go over 75
Yeah.
in chairs and seats, standing it's a little bit.
Maybe start there as a.
You could, I mean, like I said, there's probably 3 or 4 different ways you could present this, and, you know, one might just simply be, this is the capacity of our program rooms, period.
Yeah.
You know, the second one might be, you know, our large multipurpose room is a single room and can only handle up to X, so this is the largest group activity we can have in that, be it a lunch, be it a exercise class, whatever. And then the third thing could be, this is how many touch points we've had with people, you know, so just like, if we could do 2 or 3 different ones, I think that actually would add some color.
Yeah.
It may not necessarily fully answer that, but I think that's maybe a better way to.
Yeah,
I think
that's
you
a
make
great idea.
distinction between how many people can be seated.
Right.
Because that's like the maximum, as opposed to if you had a exercise kind of thing, you're not gonna be able to.
Yeah, that's why I say I think there's a couple different ways to present it, and maybe that would be, and I do agree, I think it's something that would be good to talk to.
Yeah.
That point.
And I
Let's
think
meet
we,
sometime in the next week.
Okay.
and I think we fairly say based on what I've heard anyway at multiple centers now, and Rachel said it when she was giving us wherever it was that she did her example, that you can expect, you know, somewhere on the order of double.
I think it was Situate.
Yeah, which speaks to need, which we do mention when we get to the ARPA funds and how that shows the indication of need, but it's just my reaction to that, and this is good
Yeah,
conversation.
and
Thank you.
even like the floor itself, in a great room. It's not made for exercise, it's like concrete, linoleum.
Yeah.
Which is really bad on people's joints
Yes.
Well, and for falls.
and falls.
Could I say just one thing? Where we have some slides that are very heavy on words. If we feel that we need them all, then we need them all. What we could do is highlight a couple of words in each of the bullets. It really, that we're, you know, kind of, if you're only kind of looking for a couple of words, you can see them.
Yeah.
Less than 45, 50 square feet, weightless, or whatever that turns out to be. Mental health services, no bathroom, space constrained, 1 private office, end of useful life.
Can bulletize them better.
And the 1 private office is shared.
And isn't all the private.
Semi-private. No private office, like a hospital.
Okay, no private.
Semi-private.
Yeah, and Ron, you can, whoever's gonna take this.
You wanna add these now?
No.
Or I'm trying to mute somebody.
The other
Trying
way
to
to
do it
get
as a
it,
group just
Yeah.
takes.
Does someone have their hand up? They want to ask a question?
I'll just not do
I think
it.
you can mute everybody and that's.
They can yell.
And other people.
Jenna, can you, apparently I'm not,
Oh, that's okay. I can mute people.
you know, mute.
Yeah, I'll mute.
There you go, thank you.
the other way to think about the capacity thing too is me just as not knowing anything, saying 4,500 square feet, that sounds pretty good. So there's a way to say compared to more than 12,000 in most other recent.
I think we have a comparison slide.
Yeah, you do later, you do later. It was my reaction when I hit this slide, but that didn't persuade me at all. We're just trying to be the, I know nothing. I was like, Jane, that sounds pretty good.
So, but to your point, is that not the right way to express these? Is it more important to say that there's only 1 room for the main activities and it's in constant use? Is that stronger than 4,550 square feet?
Although I like the 4,500 square feet. To me, that says, especially if you're gonna add numbers in here, to me, that says, wow, they don't have any room there. I mean, that's not very much room.
It's the size of most houses that are being built in the town lately.
It's true, the big mansions.
Well, maybe the answer though is,
I don't-
Point.
is to reprioritize the way, what we present. Like, so the capacity thing probably is the one that belongs right up top.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
then the next ones would be things like the pure space constraints that we have in the building. Regarding, you know, constrict the kitchen and office staff. And then the third one might be, you know, the programmatic aspects. And then the last one could be just the pure square footage, if you wanted to add that as a footnote. We're gonna talk about it, you know, in other slides, so.
This, instead of going line by line, this is a good talk to slide, right?
It is
Right.
absolutely a good
Yeah,
talk.
right,
Right, so you can just
Yeah.
emphasize things.
Yeah.
You don't have to read every single line on there, just
No,
emphasize the key points.
And I think this slide maybe in this format is one thing, but we've had this conversation at least 2 or 3 times
Right.
before, so.
With the select board too.
With the select board, right, so I don't think this is gonna be but I think it is important that we present this again, because there'll be new people listening in, and it'd be nice to have this hey, go back and listen to this presentation again and hear what we had to say about this.
your next slide too is a bunch of pictures.
Yeah.
And I wonder if some of this information could go on that
Oh, yeah.
slide, cause it's a visual. You know, so you could see.
I wanna, and maybe I'm wrong, you guys can correct me, but the last time we presented this, I think we literally just presented the pictures and talked to it. Maybe that isn't entirely true, I thought that's kind of what we did the last time. But I think it's okay to have the 2 slides.
Yes.
Could you put dimensions on those? You know, I'd say the kitchen, so much was 10 feet by 20 feet. Gives us an idea of how compact this place is.
If the great.
I play in the
bigger
pool
than
room.
it actually
I go to the
is.
pool room and you can't even shoot with a stick, you have to use
Well,
a
that's,
short stick.
right, so that's
You know, it's- And it's like that in many locations there. And you can't really tell that by a picture, but if you put the numbers on there, you get a better frame of it.
That great room looks really big.
Yeah, that's why.
It's because there's nothing in it. Empty.
And do we call it the great room, or do we just
Yeah.
call it the?
No, I don't think you wanna call it.
It's not great.
They're not
It's
so
not great.
I look like, it's like you can have 200 people in.
So
How about
maybe,
like-
It's the room.
do we have a picture of it in use?
Yeah.
It was in the
Yeah,
beginning.
it was
Yeah.
right here.
Yeah.
It was right here.
Yeah, actually, it's a nice shot.
Right.
I
See,
think
you're over, that's a
That's a
better,
good one.
that's a better shot,
Yes.
yeah, right there.
Shows it packed.
I'll just move it off the screen for now, just in case you wanna use it.
Maybe, main room or something.
Maybe we call it what it really is, which is the multi-purpose room.
Yeah.
Okay, yes,
Right.
all right.
Because we haven't read anything on the slide. Well, yeah.
I think we can make it a little bit narrower.
What?
Come on. Mark.
What do you mean?
Nothing. It's just-
I'm teasing.
Whatever, you can edit it out.
No, I think that looks, that's the point, that's a real,
Yeah, it's better than an open space.
We could probably find a better picture too, we have tons of pictures.
Even the one today.
Game room might be nice to get on acoustic, getting.
John, you wanna go down and pose and see how you play pool down?
pardon me?
I mean, this room is also
Yeah, the
2 of the
computer
rooms
room.
upstairs.
Computer room is small.
Yeah, it doesn't come across. The game room, the computer room is all in the basement, you know?
Again, it's a talk to, right?
Okay.
And maybe
Let's
to
roll on.
be fair, we should say it's unable to fully meet age 60 plus community. I mean, Chris and team do a fantastic job on meeting the needs of many 60
Well,
plus
that goes just
people.
the opposite
but-
direction.
I
from what
know,
you're saying.
I
So
know,
don't
but
think you
I
want to
know,
go
I
there.
just don't want someone to say.
But also,
I like it.
I mean, we've gone over these, so I know
Okay,
you're interested,
okay,
but I
all
really
right,
don't want to
all
go
right,
from scratch.
all right.
Let's roll.
All right.
So I did make some edits to this one, sorry, but
Yeah.
I just was like, I couldn't let it go, so.
this reflect your edits or? you
Yeah,
have
this,
suggestions?
yeah, this,
Oh, okay,
yeah.
this reflects, okay.
I tried to clean it up and
Do you wanna add RFQ for the OPM or anything like that? Is that anywhere in here?
I don't think that's,
Not necessary?
Okay, so,
all permanent building, is that in there?
There's selection of OPM.
Number 2025, 2024.
yeah, 2024 isn't feeling strong for some reason.
Well,
I
definitely
add
you have to have the permanent building.
PBC to take over project or something like that.
PBC accepts project.
Accepts project,
Yes,
yeah.
yes, yes, yes.
Sorry, in
No, no,
24.
no, 24 on the
Oh,
bottom,
sorry,
bottom.
yep,
that's 23.
thanks.
Another.
No, underside of
another
that,
box
like,
on the other side of.
Make another bullet underneath
okay.
that.
Make another bullet underneath this one,
No,
Well, I have another.
How about
So
on the
in-
left side of the?
On 2020.
on the left
On
side
this-
of 2024.
Make another one.
Gotcha, right here?
Yep.
Alright.
I'm really glad you're doing it this time.
Accepts.
I would actually move it underneath the site evaluation and selection.
Okay.
And open it up so it's 2 lines. Even 1, it's fine.
That's good.
Yeah. I think that's fine.
Okay,
And no OPM on there.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
Next.
This is the phase 1, phase 2 part of it, where we did a lot of work, right? In the
Yep.
beginning with the UMass, all of that. Lots of numbers.
Yeah, so the way this would get presented is, so then we did the survey and these were the questions we were trying to answer. These would be,
And you can tell them that we presented these numbers in the.
yeah, they've already been presented and they're documented in the final report, so just want to remind people of the work that was done.
I suggest maybe in the notes, you have a couple of key takeaways off the slide.
Sure.
Right? And one of them is that people will use it.
Yep.
That you've got, I forget the exact number, what's the percentage that said they'd spend? Yeah, the tax number.
Which one do?
Well, I think you look at 200 and 100 of the two that I was
So
looking
the
at.
200, the 200, greater than 200, like 20%.
Right, yeah, and greater than 100.
51.
Is that something you want to repeat again? Because we've already presented.
Yeah,
I think that
no,
you're gonna be probed on
They're
it.
gonna be asked about it, yeah.
So in the notes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly, just have it right there, because the slide begs,
Add the note.
what do you want me to know?
It's interesting though, they never did this kind of survey as far as
In the notes section,
money for killing.
just put.
And, you know, everything is,
Things.
no
like
one has
what the
context
tax
other
rates were
than
on.
saying, all right, dollars out of my pocket, yeah, I guess I'd spend that, I can say.
We have numbers.
I'm just amazed at how much they're spending stone for the high school. It's like over $1,000.
For the average house,
Yeah.
average homeowner, just for the high school.
Next.
So this was on top of the survey work.
Yeah.
This was facilitated, work from the gerontology group. as well.
Can we change this as running as a great place to live?
Yeah.
It's a great place to live.
Yeah, no land and ready.
Why weddings?
Advantages to
Great
living in
place.
Reading, great place to live.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm serious. I put it
And
in.
then
Reading is a great
bullets
place to
underneath.
live.
So the, if I remember correctly,
Yeah.
the Reading as a place to live was a question saying, how do you feel about it? What's good, what's bad? And so this is why it's plus and minus
I
next
see,
to it.
I see. I see. That makes sense. Just hits you right in the beginning.
Well, yeah, and that was the intent actually, was to figure out what are the things that make this community good to be versus
That's why there's a lot of
negative, and how does
controversy on
that,
the
right?
BTA thing.
Yeah, sure.
All right, roll on.
This is pretty straightforward. So, Marilyn and Nancy, we, average pair community building size 19.3 versus 7,000. Now, 7,000 is the overall building size, 4,500 is the usable space, and we have that documented in a later slide.
Okay.
Someone asks, we can point to that. And 19.3 actually sounds big, but again, that's total building size, not usable space.
Chop off about 20%.
Yeah, I would say, yeah, you're looking at least 15 to 20%.
Yeah, that was a really good slide.
And these are just the bullets that we presented back at that time. Yep. One year now, right? Okay, I have a question. As I was going through this again today, was it November that the select board did the recharter for recalc?
That's a,
So it had to have been before year end. So, sounds right, we should check, but that sounds like
Because
the
I
right time
thought
for
we
it.
were meeting before that to start to review the different pieces.
Talking about the
So like,
original?
we looked at finance, and think about it, right?
Okay.
We looked at finance, transportation and programs, and we also created the subgroup for the feasibility study, but the feasibility study hadn't started yet. So,
Yeah, because I think November was when we were running out, so we had to have be extended. And in November, right? We started in
Amended
December.
charter, June 6th, 2023. Website.
That wasn't the first time though, because we started in
Yeah.
21.
we did it twice, we've done it a couple of times, yeah.
This group did?
Yes, at the end of 21.
End of 21.
December, yeah.
Okay, we keep going.
The
we
wheels of government.
extended till the end of June,
Yes.
and then that's why I think I'm just, when I looked at this, I was like, November? I thought we were already back into this work in November. Now, I didn't go check, but let's
Alright, so just to do
let's
research.
take that as an act, just to check, because I could have swore we were knee deep in this already in November.
I think it was supposed to sunset in last June, and then you guys extended for another year. So that would have been, the amended charter would have been correct on the website as June 6th, 2023.
Yeah,
That makes
final
sense.
presentation to SB 6 of, oh, sorry, that's 24. Amended
Because
charter,
the
June
feasibility,
6th.
the feasibility,
I have it somewhere.
the feasibility RFP went out in like September.
Yeah, you're right, it's June.
So I just, yeah, I thought it was earlier.
23.
That makes sense. This also came right out of the report under the priorities.
I think this is a really important slide.
And this was a nice, Rachel put this together. She did a nice job with this. I like this slide, but it was based on that. We need to kind of remember the context of what it is we've been asked to do. These are the things that we're trying to prioritize.
So that, talk about input to the permanent, not the permanent building committee, when they're actually doing the designs at that point. This would be,
Guideposts.
These are the guidance pieces. When you have a question about something, you can look at this and say, okay, how does that decision affect this?
Right, because that's what when they came up with whatever that the architectural firm's initials are, they came up and they had eliminated, you know, at least one or two things that I thought were priorities. I was kind of, you know, that struck me because we had determined that. Okay.
Do we have anything from Randolph? That's still an open.
That's on us, buddy.
No.
Let's see if we can find something.
I mean, to be honest with you, the way I would just present this is like, we haven't stopped looking at other sites and we have been trying to get more information, particularly on these three items, because that was in our additional charter piece. And, you know, the short story is that, you know, this will continue to color the priorities for what we're gonna do and how we're gonna accomplish, you know, what a new center would look like and how we're gonna support it. I wouldn't say much more than that on this, to be honest with you. If you had to remove Randolph, fine, but it's nice to have four.
Yeah. Maybe we can just reach out again to supplement our recollection.
It's a good visit though.
People live at that meeting, is that why you can't remember?
Hey, Jenna, can you bold and italicize the last bullet? Thank you. I think it's important to
Yes.
highlight that.
Is it set up, is it FORS 60 plus or FOR 60 plus? Or it doesn't matter?
It's FORS
It is.
60.
Good.
It was initially gonna be Friends of Reading Seniors, and then it was confusing because you have seniors in high school and you know how they have the
It's also a four as Friends of Reading Scouting.
Ah.
And there is a Friends of Reading Rec, FORR.
Yeah.
The thing you had
Marketing
the
image would
60
take
plus,
us,
yes.
Okay. Yeah, sure. Well,
No, recount. Oh, is that right? Recount? Recount is right,
It's
yes.
all the.
cool.
Yeah, fun.
And people are really coming to these intergenerational programs, Chris. The ones with bridging generations and the ones that Rec and Elder and Human Services run together.
Yeah.
Very busy.
We're getting good turnout.
People really love them. It's good feedback.
Michael, how's this serve? Does it serve okay? Okay, all
Oh,
right. I know you're looking.
Is that a Reading picture?
No,
Oh, we should put a
I
Reading
just found
picture in
that.
there.
Is that Michael?
I'll get you a Reading picture.
Yeah.
We could do our intergenerational one too. All right.
I was gonna say,
Got it.
you got them,
Yeah.
So the
I'll
feasibility study.
Love it.
all right.
Thanks.
So I want to make sure I understand this one again. So first of all, just to point out, the bottom is where we differentiate what we're calling usable space is the subtotal line 4550 versus quote unquote non-program area. And so the total is that's where the 7160 comes from, 7,000 plus.
Just put a magnifying glass on.
So I don't need new glasses.
What is the non-program area? Is it like offices or is it offices and storage and hallways? What?
Yeah, I think it's bathrooms, storage.
That might be good to put in the notes.
Yeah, I think we need to
So-
check that, because I see there are lines there.
all over the place.
Yeah, I had the impression it was hallways, entrances, and things like that, that they have to be there, but they can't program there, you can't store stuff there.
Talking about the usable program space number?
But
The
yeah,
subtotal versus non-program.
So the
Yeah, do you remember
subtotal,
what that?
the subtotal includes all of what's above.
Right, so non-program.
So non-program is like wall space, the hallways, the stairways,
Yeah,
the.
entrances.
But the talk on this is that we've really evaluated every inch of the senior center.
Well,
And
it's,
understood where the limitations are. That's,
I think to your point earlier, and Nancy, the 4,500, when you look at this, does in fact, it isn't just pure program area. It includes the storage, it includes the restrooms, it includes the mechanical, so it's actually.
I think we should take that out.
Take one out.
It should just be that's why in my mind, I'm like, where'd that other 500 feet come from? Because there's only about 4,000 usable square feet for actual programs at the senior center. And that's what I think should be there.
Yes.
Yeah.
We talked about this at the last recap meeting, and I think we're getting a little confused on numbers. If you just look at usable program space, we're at 26, well, actually less than that, 2,600. And then, you know, the 4,500 is the halls in that. But we agreed we didn't want to just magnify the 2,600
Right, because
they're going to question, well, why, if you're already thriving on 2,600 square feet, why do you want 19,000?
Right, that's why we
Oh,
went that direction.
Yeah, I personally don't agree with that. I think that that is in such a minuscule number. And that's one of the things that we're trying to raise awareness of. But that's just me. And if you all think that that's the way to go, that's fine. But I think that I disagree. And so it really shouldn't say if the 2,600 is the program area, then it shouldn't say non-program area.
No, I think that 2,600.
Like general storage shouldn't be in there, restrooms shouldn't be in there, mechanicals shouldn't be in there.
I think this exists. I think it is telling most of the story that we need. I think there are two important comments. One is you need to stretch it a little bit because you can see that the index on the left column is wrapped, like on the top. You got two lines. The bottom one, Jim is GY, next line M. So you need to fix that at least so that it looks better. The second is that what we haven't done before this is talk about the gym and why it's such a critical element to what's going on here. I think this slide asked for trouble without having introduced that beforehand. It's like, whoa, wait a minute, what's going on here? Gym, no gym. Why wouldn't we just do without gym? That's less expensive. That seems to make more sense. I think we gotta tune that so that there's the discussion before about, here's what, from what we learned 2 slides up at Successful Centers, there was a learning slide that disappeared. Kind of what are the key things that we learned from some of these visits in terms of what gets people coming. I think that needs to be either a slide before this or on here. Probably a slide before.
And a lot of the conversations that we had with other centers was that they didn't have a gym and would like a gym.
If you could do it again.
Lexington wants a gym right now. Salem, when I visited Salem the first time, they don't even have a gym. They're a city. Andover. I don't know if North Andover has one.
No,
I
they
didn't
don't,
talk to them.
when we said we were gonna have one, she said, oh, like lucky you.
Right, exactly.
That's
Maybe it's a lessons learned.
And that would be good
It's,
for
Yeah.
breakfast.
Of course.
I think it
Gotta
does.
be big, you know?
It's
Yeah.
sort of
I think we just, we need to build this case first.
So there's
That's a good idea.
the priority slide. That needs to, there's a nice list of all the priorities for this project, but that doesn't then quickly translate into, this is a list of the spaces that you need. We had a slide like that.
Well, we did, well,
Should we mention pickleball?
It was-
No, I mean, that was, pickleball is on this slide.
It is.
Pictures.
But I mean, and it's not pickleball, it's physical activity.
right, no, but I mean, we need to spell it out.
Other stuff, cause some people, what I've, you know, some of the comments even on the survey, people thought, you know, gym, basketball, young people. We already have that, so we have to focus on things that aren't just for youth. Right. And we certainly wanna be able to utilize it for that, but what are the things that?
Gym and walking track.
You should be,
Indoor walking track.
you should be careful on what you call the gym, because I remember in the public forums, the whole gym thing kind of,
Yeah, that's where they got off.
you know, they kind of went off track. When you just said gym, they, for some reason, everyone just went to basketball. And then they
Yes,
were like,
that's what kept on
why?
hearing.
Like, and all three of them, it was like, you say gym, and then it was right to basketball. And it was.
Maybe it's a
that's it.
multi-purpose physical activities.
Yeah.
Something like that,
Yes.
right?
How
Yeah.
about showing a picture of what we're talking about? How about showing the games and activities going on inside the space that demonstrate what we're talking about?
And I think that could work. I think as long as, I wouldn't use basketball, I would,
No.
you know, I would use, like Mark said, I agree with Mark, is let's picture it as either pickleball or what things you can do in a gym, other than
Well,
basketball.
you can do all sorts of
We have a picture, or we could get one exactly, of
Yeah.
Randolph as an example. Where the day we went, there are 3 pickleball games going on, and you look up 20 feet,
Yeah.
and there are
20, 25 people, 30 people
walking on the inside track.
Yeah.
In fact, when we stood there, it was a problem because we were blocking traffic. We had to get the car away.
Yes.
That, I think, is the right way, showing what that vision is, and gets around this notion of. But that said, in certain hours, it may be possible. to do it.
Yes, I just, yeah.
But I think
Just that
demonstrating what
people
we're
jump to
talking about.
that and we, you know, the youth,
Yeah.
and we wanna already head off that assumption.
It made me scratch my head. I was like, man, you say gym, and it just, A to B to basketball. It's like,
It's just like pickleball, was badminton, there was.
You only know school gyms, that's what people said, or, you know, why having a gym.
The gym speaks to me to inclusivity too. I don't use that word in here, but especially for the
Inclusivity and
Yes.
accessibility.
especially like, you know, the younger end of the less impaired end of the older people. It's a great place for them to get exercise
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
also socialize.
Yeah, and there's also the grandparent, grandchild.
Yeah.
And it hits that other, the slide when we included as far as mental health and, you know, the other things that are part of inclusivity, that are part of what the town is about now.
Yeah.
That's all.
not to throw something else in there, but gyms are great for rentals. I don't know if that's like, they bring in really good cash flow.
Revenues.
But also during the forums, you know, it doesn't have to be a physical activity, it can be a formal event.
But see, I don't know if you.
I don't know if you
I don't
wanna,
know
just
if
keep
you
those
wanna
things.
put that on there.
Yeah.
It's
Something
something.
if I see you out of that.
But having space during the day, I mean, there's gyms, lots of gyms in town, but they're not available until 6 o'clock at night or 6:30 at night. So
Yeah.
And
there's
then
a whole adult population.
Oh, that's a large gym side.
Elections.
Looking for additional space. Oh, yeah, that's Laura really wants to place for.
Yeah.
Oh, Al's Grove.
Can you go back to slide 22 for a minute, please?
Yeah.
So I was a little confused on this though. So Pleasant Street program shortfall, option with gym. So this is saying that if you were to put a gym with the Pleasant Street Center, that you would reduce
All these other things.
all of these other things
Right,
by
that's
that
what I
amount of
was,
space. Is that
right, that's what I was
Yeah.
talking about. I mean, some of these are priorities and then this is the things that would go.
So,
Just a quick question, is the left side adding anything to this?
Confusion.
I just.
Confusing me, so I don't know.
Failing
But I
eye
see,
test.
I see what John's trying to say is, if you add the gym at the Pleasant Street Center, some of the other rooms get smaller, but it's not being portrayed very well.
Right, but we already, you know, from historical standards, they're not gonna allow a gym
Talk that.
you know, they're gonna say no to a gym there on that site.
Yeah.
So it's not really there at Pleasant Street, so why?
We decided to put it in there,
It
so.
was in the planning, it was in the pictures originally.
Right, but they're saying you can't do it. Historical. We got the letter from
Oh,
them
no,
saying,
they
yeah.
said we could put a gym in, but they just don't like that long.
The extension off the front was what
Yeah.
they said.
Right, but I thought also that the gym
They thought
would be so large
Overwhelmingly
compared to the
large.
basic building. They also had that in there.
There was you can't and there was we don't want.
But that also, that also included
You
the
really
parking.
shouldn't.
It was that whole
Please don't
long.
do that.
Yes.
But we're adding confusion where we're
Yeah.
trying to get rid of it.
I would just
I
get
think we
rid of
just make
this
our
slide.
point.
Okay,
I-
all right.
I think you desperately need the right hand side.
I don't, because I think the right-hand side is very confusing. And it doesn't. What is it trying to tell people here?
I think the
The reference.
right-hand side is trying to lay out that connection from program to room space.
But it doesn't,
I know, but
it doesn't,
it does a little bit.
no.
Well, and John, what you can speak to too is the fact that at Pleasant Street Center, a lot of these things were brought to historical. And you can't do them at Pleasant Street. So. You can also,
Wasn't the shortfall compared
you can't have a
to
gym
the
at
other
Pleasant
two
Street.
Yeah, so.
It's not the
Yeah.
You can't have a
shortfall
parking
compared to
garage.
where we are today, it's a
Well, they
shortfall
Right,
don't
compared
want
to,
that
so
long.
maybe say shortfall compared to the other two options.
Right, so
That's the parking, that's the
But-
parking.
so what those
But there
numbers,
was- but there
so
was
the numbers on the left that say option with gym, what they represent are,
There was programs.
if you took the Pleasant Street Center as was defined in the feasibility study, without a gym, and then you added the gym to it, these are the spaces that these are the pieces that you would lose. So you would lose a 1,000-foot large program room.
Right.
You would lose a 1,000-foot fitness studio. You would lose an 800-square-foot lounge. You would lose a 100-square-foot office.
Can't have this track.
And you're not gonna have the track and the gym at that location.
So the bottom line is that to have a center for active living in the sense that it will have a gym, it's really
So,
at the loss of support at prioritizing a lot of senior space.
Yes.
I mean,
This is only because this is like why
Right.
nobody wants it at first. Not no, no, Pleasant Street, Pleasant Street, let's say Pearl Street, Pleasant Street.
yes. And so
Is this-
I think the other thing that this slide shows, I mean, at least even just looking at it, you can see the plans for program area space, even at what would be a new Pleasant Street Center, are clearly more expansive than what we have today. Today you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 rooms effectively? Compared, and this is the discussion we had a couple weeks ago, you got 6 rooms, you got now with these other, you got what? If you add them all up, you probably have
I think there's like
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
They're
10.
small, but they're small.
There's really only 5 program rooms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's 5 program rooms. rooms, and I think
Today,
today,
yeah,
I think you said 6. So
Okay.
there's 5 program rooms today, that's like 2,700 square feet.
right,
And I think if you,
Finding 5 rooms.
there's the pool room,
Oh, okay.
Computer
Counting the
room.
basement.
Yes.
Yeah.
Computer room,
yeah,
yeah.
Yes.
and the computer. So there's only 5.
so and any, so with the. Forget the gym at Pleasant Street Center for a moment. These other configurations that the feasibility study was proposing are 9 rooms. Effectively, but 9 program rooms. And this goes back to the capacity
Yeah.
issue.
Yeah.
So that's intended to be evident with this.
I would hold this like, I'll maybe put it in appendices, but if the question comes up,
Yeah.
why not Pearl? Why not Pleasant Street Center? You know?
I
Then you.
think you wanna build a center at Pearl Street.
Yeah.
That's where it's out.
I know.
Should have had that building, yeah.
Why don't we just take a step back for a second? What I think we need to communicate is that we looked at a variety of options. Part of it related to site, but also it related to figuring out what is it that we're gonna need to do regardless of the site that we're gonna look at. What are the general things that help us understand, hey, is this site gonna be suitable or not? Okay, then we go and we say, so essentially we looked at 3 different potential locations. And there are different things that could happen at each of them. And we put together this notion of, okay, what do you have today? And what are we talking about doing with these others? And what we found when we did that is that there were, Pleasant Street had some issues, right? And if we wanted to get in all the things that we think are appropriate, we're gonna lose some stuff. We're gonna lose out on some other space. Whereas those constraints don't exist at the other 2 locations, right? And you can see a little bit of what the rooms are, how they might be used, the sizes and things like that. And the core is saying, hey, from what we talked about before, that 4,500 square feet as compared to 17,000 as the average peer community. Here's what we're talking about here with these other locations, right? There's 12 to 21. So that, and it's kind of a range. And okay, so why the difference? Well, you got Pleasant Street without a gym, but that's not meeting one of the core needs. But we looked at it just in case to see, what's there. The other, the far 2 on the right, you see are the 16 to 21,000 feet, right? You see what's going on. At Oakland Road and Simon's Way, you have this opportunity, you have the space, you can accomplish the things that you want to accomplish. And that's why it's there. You can kind of see right down that far right column, you can see the stuff that's there. That would be a great takeaway.
So those square feet that are listed there, the 1,000, 1,800, that's the loss? That's what you'll lose?
Yes.
On the left,
Yes.
Yes,
that's what you lose when you add a gym.
we have to say that, because that's not jumping up.
Yeah.
But that's a loss.
Well, so to convey Mark's points, which I do think are relevant. This eye chart is probably not the right thing. It may be better to kind of.
Which eye chart though?
Well, it's okay to keep it as a backup, but it'd be
That's
better
what I
to
would think.
maybe summarize it a little bit better.
Because by that
Why don't
point,
you just tell the story?
we're gonna
Yeah.
have made a recommendation on one location
So,
by this time anyway, right? That's what we're gonna
Right.
present.
I think we want to say that we
This is-
started.
If it comes up,
Right.
well, why not Pleasant Street? Then we could say,
it's a little.
Why not just use the site plan pictures? And
We have
then-
those coming up.
yeah,
Oh.
Those are coming up
Excellent.
next.
Well, you could take some of this verbiage and that would be your talking points for your site plan.
That's why it's a good
What
appendices
you
slide.
just-
so-
I guess I still think it's important to have a slide that gives the initial ability to tell that story about these are the options we looked at and here are the implications of these different options and here's what it looks like on the different sites, and then get to the bottom line of the recommendation that way.
So,
I'd like to have a talk to slide on that.
so Mark, how much time do we have
Say that again?
for the select board presentation? How much?
Yes.
How much time do we have?
How much do we need?
Oh,
Well, when you put a slide like this.
So I'm gonna
Yeah.
suggest 30 minutes of presentation max and 30 minutes of discussion.
And are they gonna ask, what is the non-program area? What is this?
Yeah.
What is that? Like, are they gonna ask technical
I
questions?
so I would recast this slide.
It's a very confusing slide.
Yes.
This is very, I'm even looking at this, like the current Pleasant Street Center and saying the multi-purpose room is 1650. I'm like, well, no,
Let's
it's
just create a
technically
slide with a
about
story.
100. Like this is just creating more questions than.
Yeah,
All right, let's pull this off and I'll,
Put it to the back.
well, no, leave it there. Just don't pull it out. Just put a little note that needs to be recast to tell the story. And I'll,
and you need
Work on
to
it.
fix the numbers for the current Pleasant Street Center.
well, I'm gonna,
Square footage.
I think I'm going to downplay the numerics,
Okay,
a bit.
But like even, I mean, I'm sorry, just to bring this up, but like even here, other services director, I'm like, yeah, I do have an office, it just doesn't show it on here.
Well, you don't have a door.
Not really,
It's
really not.
Is that why it's not indicated on
This is
there?
thoroughly beat up, let's go to the next.
You have a code.
Yes, let's go.
Yeah, it's not an office.
So
Why'd you
the-
think that?
I think this is perfectly
You have a
fine.
window.
Every bathroom's big.
I like my window.
So again,
So do you wanna keep this even though the historical commission would?
I think we need to keep it.
yeah.
And just show them we did work. This is what the site looks like with a gym on it. It's,
You know what, when you explain to people how the garage would work, it immediately takes something off the table.
we know it's
It's
a mess.
not a matter of the gym, it's the garage, how the garage would work.
One way in and that's it.
Yeah, and you gotta
Hotel
back out.
California.
So
Alright.
that's what I found,
Okay.
and they'll go, oh, yeah, definitely, it's not
Hold on.
stay here.
Yeah,
Okay.
And this one with the caveat that it may have to be reconfigured and everything, yeah.
Any of these are, initial feasibility site views. They're not intended to be representative of what a final would look like. And I think we've already, this shows the pickleball courts, but it's not in the feasibility study design piece either. And it could be, at this site, it could be relative to what happens overall at Simmons Way, but not relative to this particular project.
yeah, we did confirm that there could be 6 courts there, not 4, by the way.
They're actually creating.
With this current layout, no.
Not sure,
Just following up our discussion.
Unless we cut the
right,
first
not
one.
what's up there, but with actual more information, is that what you're saying?
Well, I thought the wetlands line is this line right here. It runs out like that, so you could actually put 4 more courts up there.
Yeah, the architect said 6 when I talked to him last week. But
Okay.
I'm sure it could be
Let's get the
ready.
building built.
But you don't want, you really don't want the pickleballs showing, because then I think people got confused, they thought we were proposing pickleball courts at Oakland. Which,
We took that off.
Yeah, we took it out.
right, but we haven't, no.
So I think, my opinion, there are different opportunities and constraints at each location.
Sure.
We highlighted Pleasant Street and some problems, right? And we probably need to talk to we got a lot of feedback on historic. At Oakland, the feeling was that you couldn't do pickleball courts, or you wouldn't want to, I don't know if you could, but you wouldn't want to.
Wasn't much.
Here, I think there's an opportunity to show that there's multi-purpose capability. Right.
Yeah.
And to say that, hey, this isn't, part of what we're talking about in terms of the specific activity, but rather it's meant to show you that there is an opportunity on that parcel to do more.
Yeah, and expanding the overall recreation of the area.
Right. I think that is gonna serve us well to do that and show it. I guess I'd rather show 6 than 4 as a choice, not that it precludes a different number. But to show 4 probably just invites, 4 is not enough.
Four's not enough.
Yeah, I can, because I actually have an updated picture from Joel with the 6. So I can add that in, or send it to you, John, to add in, if that's good.
And again, we even said, not a final, but just showing that the opportunity could be there, right?
Yeah, and then who knows, maybe there is opportunity for more.
And that's
That's
consistent
extended.
with the SWEC recommendation that said.
To me, that's actually the more important thing, is that we're not proposing what else specifically is gonna go there. You've already had a presentation from SWAC of other options.
Why not define it as outside activity, outdoor activities?
Right, it's, I mean,
Pickleball.
it's certainly supportive of the goals in terms of the outdoor physical activity opportunities, but specifically, we have not included it in our design or budget or feasibility, so that's all.
As a suggestion, I would show it as pickleball and be specific that we're talking about other activities that could be here, other outdoor activities that could be here. And it isn't part of, what would be, proposed in terms of, here's, building this, isn't saying we're gonna do that as well. But, say SWAC, you talked about multiple opportunities, here's one. And there is particular interest in pickleball. And so, if you're interested, you could do this, maybe more. But we just wanted to show that from a space point of view, that's available, if that's. I think that's a potential positive constituency to work with. That brings this
No, there's
forward.
there is a,
And a large senior
there's a
population.
marketing piece to that
And there's some-
particular
There's some
presentation.
financial
Yes.
support that would go along with that.
There's lots of stuff that comes with it. There's lots of advantage as an opportunity. And it's not precluding doing it in other places, it's just saying that it's impossible.
Soon we're gonna need courts for paddle tennis. That's the fastest growing.
So there may
Much
be
infrastructure.
space for that down the road.
Infrastructure.
We'll see.
Can I make a comment that I know is, people probably are not gonna like? But when these were originally, circulated, the maps, the buildings on it had, I can't remember if they had active living center, or I think in some cases it just said community center. And a number of seniors asked, where's the senior center? You forgot all about the seniors. And you have to remember, we've got 500 participants that go to Pleasant Street Center.
Right, but all through the slide presentation,
It-
it focuses on seniors.
It doesn't matter. I wake up when I'm looking at this picture and I did not hear anything that you said on the other slides. But I look at that picture and I go, oh, they're not talking about a building for me. They're gonna just take away Pleasant Street Center. And I have to tell you, I heard that during these presentations.
So you're saying
So-
where it's denoted,
So-
the thing actually puts senior /
Community center,
town.
at
Okay,
least,
okay.
yes,
Yes.
at least for the interim.
Yeah.
We can have a big education campaign once this all passes, and it's called the Active Living Center. But we have to remember, we've got constituencies out there that know a certain vocabulary. This is not in their vocabulary.
Yes, no, I agree that you should.
And
have
they are gonna be,
seniors in.
they're votes. These are people that are gonna vote, so.
I gotta be careful.
I have to say, we've had this conversation
I know.
before.
I'm just.
I understand, no, I completely understand what you're saying, I've certainly heard it, but my personal perspective is I would rather us stay consistent with the terminology that we wanna use moving forward, and the terminology that we have throughout this presentation, we've used recalc and recal. It is going to be a hump that's gonna have to be addressed if we're gonna call it that. And I think that's what we've been trying to quote unquote begin that marketing process for, so.
I'm just saying that this is not the time to start it,
I,
because we're going for votes, but.
well,
So,
okay,
a couple
Go
things.
ahead.
One, the Pleasant Street Center is called the Pleasant Street Center.
It's
not-
called the Pleasant Street Senior Center, that's what it says.
No,
on the
no,
front.
no,
It says Pleasant Street Center, a place for seniors. It says it right down at the bottom.
I'm fine with making it inclusive that way, and maybe the thing to do is in the beginning, clear what recal is.
Okay,
In the very beginning.
Yeah, well, in the charge, it says it's primarily focus is on seniors and other potential.
Yeah.
I even just make a slide that is, it only says recal equals. If you will.
Senior/community center or something.
And I would.
Yes,
let's-
yes.
And now our terms are established.
that's
Can I
fine.
put some
Yeah.
graphics with it so they could see?
Yeah, okay, it doesn't have to be
this.
a white
Yeah.
slide with.
Yeah.
And
All
I
right.
think the person who's talking needs to mention that.
well, I have no problem I have no argument against putting a slide that makes that crystal clear. But I would rather us use that terminology.
Okay.
I kind of agree
500
with
votes.
Nancy, but
I think that there's a time and a place to market and a time, and this is not it. We are trying to sell this concept, which is very expensive. And the primary users initially are going to be the over 60 crowd. It's not necessarily going to be a younger crowd that comes in there. And
We're handing this off right now to PBC. I don't want to confuse them and change their terminology in the middle of their project.
I'm not saying
And-
change the terminology, but underneath this, put the words.
We will, no, I think we can define it, that's fine. I don't want to lose it, that's all.
No,
I'd rather
I'm
us
not saying
keep it.
eliminate it. I'm just saying add to it.
Okay, we need to,
Yes, we
keep
need to wrap
going.
this up.
We're almost at the end, right?
yeah,
Keep going.
What am I at? Sorry.
Keep
More,
going.
more.
Go on the last slide.
So the only thing missing.
Oh, this one.
Do we not have-
Margarita.
yeah, okay, so this is
Six.
this is just the depiction of
they're
what
all
the boxy building would look like. And then the fact that we spend time going through and assessing based on 12 or 16 characteristics to assess the different sites. And then in addition, so slide 29 is we met and had other inputs to this process.
So this probably should change a little bit.
Because now the PBC has accepted the project.
And also
we're gonna
because we're hiring
an
an
OPM.
I think that's.
Yeah,
a
we
big
should
piece.
say those two things.
Yeah.
And actually, I would add what you just said, that the recommendation from TBC was, yeah, go ahead and make us a recommendation so we can move forward with this. And that's a great segue into the,
Yes.
okay.
Do you want to make a separate point for OPM or just to add?
We can include it as well, no, I think we should add it as a separate point. PBC accepts the project, and
Owner's project manager, hire in process.
in process.
Selection.
Is it a
Selection and
is it a too forceful of a word to say requires site selection to move forward into the final stage?
And it's more active a term than.
Well, give me a term. Suggests, somewhere in between suggests and requires.
Urges.
So
Recommends.
they're fine with it. And it sounded to one member as to be a good idea.
Talk about
That's
it
a-
on Monday.
What's that?
Talk about it on Monday.
Yeah, actually, on Monday, they will talk about it at their meeting and maybe we can.
Well, they
go
can't
further.
actually do any of this stuff without a site. They pretty much,
Right.
I thought they
That's,
said
yeah,
that, right?
that's the,
Well,
So-
they have to have one site, and we wanted to have,
well,
make a recommendation.
Okay.
There's a lot of
Alright.
stuff here we're trying to get into.
Okay, all right, let's
they can,
let's
they
move,
can,
let's
they
wait
can
till
do the
Monday
whole
and
thing
we'll figure it
without
out.
select. So
Okay,
Cause they could,
that's what,
we could select.
that's what Pat said.
So I think that that's not what's gonna happen. They're much more likely to, listen to what was provided, do their own set of assessments without frankly looking at what other people said and how they ranked and things other than to know what we recommended. And then it felt like it was gonna coalesce the same way. But they're gonna do their process,
Okay.
and the OPM is gonna be involved.
all right, leave it like this for now.
Yeah, you can think about it.
Is that, should it be additional considerations? Is that the right term for this?
Well, so PBC committee accepts the project and owner's project and selection part, those are not actually conditional,
Right.
that, additional considerations, those are like, you know, here's what's happened next, so to speak, so.
Yeah.
That's okay, just highlight it.
Okay.
I'll figure out how to break it out.
Yeah, or you may wanna just call it updates or something like
Update
that,
something,
make it
yeah.
easy. Instead of additional considerations, just updates.
So when we had meetings with the abutters, we meet with the Ice Authority,
No,
they're clearly at a butter.
Right, but they're renting.
Yeah,
No, no.
and I did call them and talk to them
oh, you did?
a couple months ago, yep. Had a good conversation with Ed Peduto, the rink,
In. Okay, well, it may be that the area behind the ice arena could be an option, right, also, as a site location. There haven't been any votes or anything like that, but I've had a discussion that it would certainly be something that they think about positively.
Where the ball field is now?
No, a parking lot behind the
Parking
ice
lot,
arena.
okay.
Right.
There's probably less chance of pollution down there.
Closer to the Nike site, further from the other stuff.
Yeah,
Closer to the rifle.
Closer to the rifle range.
it's like less parking.
and it's, you don't kind of have to meander around to get to it,
More,
so it's not.
Right, next slide.
It's heavy,
next
So
slide.
that's not,
heavy utility.
that's
Next
really not
So, yeah,
what we need.
Okay, all right, let's,
we don't need to talk about it,
Yeah.
right?
okay. All right, so
Nobody will come up with that.
I had a question that's I highlight, I think I was on opportunity to reuse, rent or sell existing business. Existing building, excuse me. So that's not a site benefit of using the PSC. That's,
Right, the others.
Right.
that's a benefit of if you chose one or the other one.
Yes, yes.
So can I just suggest we take that off entirely? I wouldn't even add it to the other two.
It's a comment you can make.
It's a talk to comment. Oh, by the way, in addition to these, you know, we don't use the PSC.
Put that in the notes.
The building becomes an opportunity for something else, period. End of story.
Less is more.
Okay.
Okay. What?
So we have affordability under all three of these. I guess I was just like, so is it project affordability that we're talking about here?
Yeah, I don't know why that's there.
Yeah,
So I'm,
Yeah.
yeah, I would take it out.
Well, it's there for all three, so what,
Yeah, it doesn't make
well,
sense.
it's,
but also what affordability, how
right,
do you,
it's,
how do you define that?
right. I was just saying, it's,
They're all expensive, no, just kidding.
Yeah, every, you know. It's kind of constant.
Good catch, good catch.
32.
so
This has the.
maybe we take that other stuff out and put it here.
Yeah, it's already
And
here.
leave that on B. additional considerations.
So that. And then take out,
Take
the
out
last
the
two,
last
Yeah.
two.
yep. You can, meander. So, now I'm back to, where are we now?
32. Okay, too easy to take up program. So let's change the form.
So, that's actually been established.
Yep, form. So it should say Recount Building Committee adds
That building committee
select
established.
board and COA members. So one select board, one COA.
Do you want to put,
So is it
Two,
go,
so you don't, it
Of
says 2 and 3,
BBC.
so now we know it's just 2 now.
you gotta identify them. What?
plus?
Yeah.
Plus one COA.
COA. Maybe take the word form out of them. Okay. Next point. So I think,
Sorry,
I'll take a walk.
so I think this should change to instead, say, PBC reviewing.
Yeah, I don't think you would be saying anything about soil and sand either, right? Because it's, you know, it's
I
their
think-
process, they're gonna
can't-
see that.
Right, but I think we need to say that the plan would be to select a site, start the schematic drawings, and then do testing. Or maybe you can just leave it as is, and then instead of where it says soil assignments way and others, just come back and say, recommendation is.
oh, am I supposed to be
Sorry.
typing something?
Yeah.
Sorry.
But see, aren't we, you know, going beyond our thing, when we note on this, because that's an actual thing that they're going, you know, as part of their doing their due diligence, they're gonna look at a lot of things, and this is one we know that they're gonna, that, you know, we're pointing out to them, they already know that it should.
But select board members are likely to say, so is the PBC on board with this, and what's going on with testing?
Right.
What's the answer to that? We can answer.
Well, PPC, that's part of what they're, yes.
So my select board member hat says, so you're not really, you're not really ready to move forward here is what I'm hearing.
Well,
And I
no,
don't, I
'cause
think we
the-
want to be the opposite. We are ready. We're in touch with them. Here is kind of the process and plan. And that's why we're bringing you this recommendation.
I think that if you go back to the first bullet, PBC agreed to take on program. Then Recal Building Committee consists of PBC and COA member and one SB member.
All right, now we're gonna get to your word. Make it work.
Established, whatever, I don't know.
No, so, okay, next
And then
line,
the
next second
The
bullet,
next bullet,
or it's in the sub bullets, yeah, right there.
bullet, right, would be,
Recommendation
Right,
is,
right, yeah, recommendation from Recalc to pursue Simmons Way site.
yeah, because we lost our other slide, didn't we?
Right.
I think that's not powerful enough.
Well, let's do this
Okay.
and then we can figure out,
Okay.
because then the next sub bullet is, or this can go in either thing. The next sub bullet here is PBC to hire OPM for completing schematic design phase. To include addressing issues such as soil and other issues that they may identify in their normal process. Right?
Yeah, I don't think it's not hiring the OPM to complete it. It is to complete the
It
design,
is.
but it's not.
They're gonna coordinate.
completion.
How about just PBC hire OPM to help coordinate
Completion of schematic.
schematic design and possible testing?
Well, no, I wanna I want another 2 sub-bullets under this one, if possible. We can fix the formatting later.
Okay.
But, I wanna say, so this is. You can take the BH&A, so BH&A is gonna continue on with the schematic design.
Do you wanna say wetlands besides the soil? I just don't wanna say.
Well, and
soil.
that's,
You know, that other thing.
right, the next bullet under that would be, during this phase, additional testing, parentheses, soil, and other identified issues to be investigated.
Is it B&H help or B&H is funded to do this?
Funded.
BH&A will continue to perform the schematic.
So performs, will perform.
Will perform,
As funded,
yeah.
because it's funded.
As funded, right, exactly, that's a good point, as funded.
I'm sorry, what was the second bullet point?
PBC as part of we can cut the words down later.
Yep.
PBC as part of their process will perform any required testing, parentheses, soil, and investigate other issues as they arise.
Soil comma ETC.
Yeah, soil coming ETC. Other issues.
Or environmental issues or just issues? Just issues.
I mean, it could be, where do we put the road, you know, how do we hook up the electricity, who knows, right, whatever comes in.
Endangered sparrow,
You can edit better after.
Yeah.
Does that include traffic design as well too?
Pardon?
Does that include traffic design?
I
don't think that's.
I'm not entirely sure. They did the initial
Yeah, they did like an initial.
broad brush, but I don't think the details of a traffic design.
Well, because that's gonna be contingent on where it can be located.
I don't think it's,
they're
I don't
funded
think
to
it's
do it.
included in that, but. The next big bullet, which, you mentioned earlier, and then I absolutely have to run, recap, no, not sub-bullet, where it says completion of feasibility study, we've already addressed that, but that next bullet is gonna be recalc. Sunsets on such and such a date, you know, are we gonna do something, yes or no?
Can I have a big party to celebrate?
Right, yeah, cookout at John's, whatever the date is, right?
Understood.
So just something to that effect to remind people. And I think leaving the funding, thing is important, obviously, but.
I'm just highlighting this so you'll know that you have to edit it anyways, but. August 31st.
So, you are right, we need to highlight the recommendation a little bit better, but,
You want a slide?
I think this is where it belongs in that.
I'd almost think that you do the recommendation first and
And then
the
jump
next
into
slides
that.
is where we are now.
We could do that.
Let's go strong on the recommendation.
Fireworks, all
Okay,
confetti.
looking at the top.
There was
8:59.
another slide that had what looked like typos on it. I thought it was 34. but
Yeah, we're up to
35.
30 some odd slides, so I think some of the early slides will go pretty quickly because.
Yeah.
I think it might be 35. It says there's gonna be 2
Thir-
gyms. It's
Yeah,
gonna be a
no,
typo. I know, that was my reaction, exactly. It was
Okay, I actually have to run. I'm gonna turn into a pumpkin.
Okay, so do we want to just, who do you want to have kind of work on it with you? You could probably have a couple other people to bounce things off of.
You-
I can help out.
Wanna help out? That would be awesome.
Just you and I.
You can send the updated slide deck over.
This is the
And
one.
then,
I'm happy to
are
consult.
we doing Monday?
2 gyms.
Monday, 5:30 is what we said, right?
Zoom, right?
So we can also put, I know the agenda is to do the recommendation, but we can at least get the slide deck out to everybody to look at.
That's fine.
Oh, sorry. I
Sure,
said
but we
Sharon.
won't have time to
What
comment.
side?
Isn't there a
What
6 o'clock meeting? Somebody said?
Yes.
I'll send this
Okay.
over.
Never mind.
Yeah, 'cause it says
Never
that
mind.
it seems to be advocating a standalone senior center, and it talks about 2 gyms. We must have been very tired when we did this slide, is all I can say.
It's that one.
There's odd
Okay.
stuff in there, I don't know
Oh.
what it was.
It's 2 gyms.
Okay,
Oh, new center.
entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I have a second?
You got it.
Okay, Nora Bucko,
Yes.
Ron Assini,
Yes.
Holtman.
Yes.
Mark Joxer.
Yes.
John Parson. John Sasso. John O'Neill, yes.
Remember the magic?
So I have it in the notes, next recalc meeting is July 15th, right, for the